Hello, and welcome back to the Thursday Night Kissaten podcast. Thursday Night Kissaten is a podcast that we talk about Japanese TV shows, movies, books, and other pop cultures. We update weekly every Thursday night around 5 p.m. This podcast is written and hosted by me, Cordelia. Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome back to the Thursday Night Kissaten podcast. I'm your host, Cordelia. How are you all doing? You know, here where I live, we just had a huge snowstorm, and everything became so much harder. Going to work, grabbing food, meeting friends, and even just getting to the classes. It was a lot to deal with. But on the bright side, I've been spending more time indoors, which give me the chance to finally complete a project that I'm very close to my heart. So I'm going to use just a little bit time here that in this podcast, I'm excited to share that I have published a literary zen with the Serum Muse Publishing, and it called Food and Feeling. It took me 2 years to finish, and I couldn't be happier, I have to say. It is available both physical and digital formats, and including on the Apple Books. This is a zen that I created to respond to one of my class project, but it also is my answer to fight for the racial-based food shame. For my dear listeners who are not living in, who are not living outside East Asia or South Asia, I want to let you know that in North America and in the West, there is a huge thing that against people who are eating different food. It's only, they can take on anything. It can be skin color, it can be anything, color of the hair, but they also pick on food. So that was my answer, and I gathered the writers from the community, and we come together and they all wrote a wonderful, beautiful works to respond to something that relate to food and feelings. And the first issue is the hearts, nose, and bellies understand. We actually got an ISSN number for it, so it will continue. This year, October, we'll have the second issue, and next year's for the third. So, stay in tune. If you love food and enjoy reading about how it connects to our emotions and the memories, so please check it out. You can find it on Instagram or anywhere on the internet. So yes, you heard me right. The second issue actually we're preparing for the October is called the Cake and Celebrations. We're also going to have workshops. So no matter where you live, where you're from, please get in touch with us. If you have story to share, any story that about the cake, even not about the cake, but about celebrations, anything that can be, we love to hear from you and hear your stories. So because it is about cake, which brings us to today's episode, we're going to dive into a manga that beautifully intricate the baking, cake, and BL, The Antique Bakery by Fumi Yoshinaga. And we will explore how cakes and cooking serve as a metaphor for love, healing, and identity, and how Yoshinaga senses work challenges social norm. Part 1. So in this part 1, I will give you a manga overview. So what is manga about? Antique Bakery. Seiyo Koto Yogashi Den is actually a slice of life manga and written and illustrated again by our amazing Fumi Yoshinaga, is also the writer and illustrator for What Did You Eat Yesterday, and many others. It's originally run the manga magazine called Wind from 1999 to 2001, and it was later collected into 4 volumes and published by Shinshokan. And at its core, the Antique Bakery is a very bittersweet and charming story, which is about a small, stylish bakery called Antique and the lives of the four men who work there. They are Tachibana, Ono, Eiji, and Shikake. About the Tachibana, he is the owner of the bakery and with a very mysterious past and a very unusual relationship with the sweets. And about the Ono is a very talented pastry chef with a very playboy personality, but also with a very tragic history. And here comes is Eiji, a very cheerful, a former boxer who becomes participant at the bakery. And then also Shikake is actually Tachibana's childhood friend who frequently visits and acts on a very interesting dynamic of the group. And the story blends the humor, the drama, and the touch of romance while celebrating the art of baking and many ways the food brings the people together. And the cakes in this manga are more than just desserts. They actually symbolize about connection, healing, and the sweetness of the lives itself, especially the connection part. Every single person who visited and buying the cake will always telling some story or certain very important thing draw into the story and plot. And each characters with the cake reflects their emotion struggle. This is what just I noticed when I was reading it. So for example, Tachibana's love, right? His love is for sweets is hidden a deeper loneliness with associated relation with the cake. And also Ono is a beautifully crafted pastries and present his longing for love. The more the making the cake beautiful, the pastry beautiful, the more he is wanting and yearning for something his romance love. But here's the thing, he earning the romance love, but actually also something certain way is about self-love and self-respect at the same time. And also Eiji, who is in the growth as a baker and mirrors his journey towards his self-discovery as a younger person. So this manga is actually very beautifully captured the ideas of food, especially the cake. You can see that on the cover of the work. It can be a source that is telling the comfort, yearning for the love, nostalgic, because a lot of cake that actually in the manga brings out of the memories, right? And then even the emotional release, and when they're actually binge eating or eating it, and there is a story being told with the same time. I have to say in this manga, the cake and the bakeries in this, the art is so beautiful. It actually will make people hungry and yearning for more dessert. When we are human beings, that's also the reason why I have this thing called food and feelings. A lot of people maybe don't believe in that, but I really think that somehow our humans, our belly is the second brain, or the brain is directly talking to the gut most of the time. When we're angry, there's certain food that we want to go to. When we're sad, we tend to not to eat. Somehow our gut is telling us something by the food that we're yearning, the flavor that we're looking for, and the comfort that we're chasing. So, Yoshinaga sensei never get wrong with their interpretations between the food and the human relations and human emotions. And then, how it actually can be a metaphor for almost everything that this creator want to do within their work. Grew up in China, people usually always say 民以食为天. It means that eating is the first, the most initial things for human beings living. And then, grew up in Japan, people always say, if you're sad, go eat something nice and drink some beers and then go home and sleep. And next day you will be a new you. I think that's the reason why the East Asians kind of obsessed over the food, is because it really brings the comfort with the belly. And when the belly is full, somehow they believe all the tragedies and all the worriness will just disappear with the warm food. So, cake in this manga, it was as a metaphor for healing. Well, I was, brainstorming for the topic for the second issue of the Food and Feelings, and I kept on thinking about Yoshinaga Sensei's work. Besides being a feminist, Yoshinaga Sensei is really well known for her deep interest in food. Last year, I was in the hospital and I found myself rewatching What Did You Eat Yesterday over and over and over again. It was a very tough time for me, but the first TV show that I went to is What Did You Eat Yesterday, and my friends, they actually played Golo, the lonely food detective, together when we're eating. So, one day we'll definitely talk about that TV series as well. But, just there's something about the act of cooking and eating that felt very tied to something called healing, and it led me to revisit Antique Bakery as well. Oh, of course, it's a beautiful work, and then who doesn't want to have cakes, right? And the mangas with the food focus is on dedicated like the French style cake. But in Yoshinaga Sensei's world, the cake isn't just reserved for wedding, Christmas, or the department store food fairs. It is an everyday joy. It's something that is accessible to all. Here, maybe we'll confuse some listener here why cake is about Christmas. Just for your reference, it is a tradition to eat a strawberry shortcake and KFC chicken bucket on the Christmas Eve day in Japan. I think it's all because of commercials. I really don't understand the birthday cake, the cake thing. I think it's related to the birth of Jesus, so it's a celebration. Therefore, it's a birthday celebration. Then people start eating cake. But for whatever the reason, I still can't really tell you. But when I was a little there, I remember my grandfather ordered a cake from a bakery there for Christmas Eve. It's just something everybody does. And when I was there, when I was an adult, people sometimes order a cake from 7-Eleven. Just for your reference, it's actually a thing. Now, whether people do it or not, I don't really know, but I do know that it was a really popular thing to do. And for, that's why for this manga, it's not just about Christmas, weddings, and birthdays, or like department stores, food fairs, or something for display. It's actually everyday joy, and it's something accessible to all. And from a, this is funny in the book, the story that from like an ex-motorbike gang member to aging bar hostess and teachers, nurses, detectives, like cake is just for almost every single person in the story. I actually experienced this the first time last year, and then after a very unexpected loss, the first thing that I did was actually order a cake for myself. I wasn't sure really why. It was a really sad moment, but I just ate the whole cake by myself. Well, no, actually with someone, but somehow I felt better. Now later to celebrate, it's hard to say. I wouldn't say that I felt better. I feel like I complete. The whole thing is end. But I know that it will just stay with us forever. But cake somehow became something very important to me. Like later to celebrate the first issue release of the Food and Feeling Literature, I ordered another cake and shared it with the publisher. It's about every day. Joy. It can be lost. It can be something memorable. It also can be just for nothing. Sometimes we don't even need a reason to eat a cake to celebrate. Being alive is something that we need to celebrate. So in the Antique Bakery, the people who come to buy cakes aren't just customers. they become part of the larger story. One that was involves a decades-old child abductions cases and then a present-day serial kidnapping mystery. And yet, it's for the owner, Tachibana, like the bakery owner, who was once a victim of such a crime, and then the repressed memory of his experiences never returns, and then his trauma continues to haunted him, and a form of occasion of the nightmare. So therefore, there's a cake, there's a bakery. So food in this case is really for him is a comfort and also a reminder of the past. It's a symbolism. And how actually access that memory, access that loss, access that miserable feelings and experience is actually the topic to the whole manga, is how we get there and get to be healed. Yoshinaka sensei knows. Oh, she knows. She always knows, I'm sure. That's why all her work is great and in-depth and talking about human nature and human, the way of healing and representations as well. This manga actually is already translated into English. I have to say that I tried so hard on the internet. I could not find who is the translator for the English version. So if you know, please share with us, leave a comment on the Instagram or anywhere you got your podcast. I need to know who is the translator, and I really encourage all the publishers in the future, put the translator's name on the top, on the cover, in the title page, because this is important to dedicate the people who actually have their work done. Translating is not just ChatGPT, really. It's about human touch, it's about translating experience. It's skilled. It's a very skilled talent someone can have. So if you know who is the translator for the Antique Bakery, I would love to learn from you. But this is all about today's part 1 about Antique Bakery. We'll definitely dive into more in our part 2 next week. We're going to talk about the queer representations in the Antique Bakery. Still, this is a very famous BL manga, and the reason why it's so famous, and the queer narrative beyond the romance. And also we'll look into the food and culture and global revelations about especially Japanese food culture now is a huge influence to the world. Thank you again for listening to today's episode. I hope wherever you are staying warm, and subscribe and leave a review and comments and let us know. Maybe there's other shows you want us to talk about, or the manga, or even the books. And if you read Antique Bakery, I would love to hear from you about your thoughts as well. Share your favorite moments with me and then everybody else on the internet. Until next time, stay warm, stay cozy, and treat yourself something sweet. Maybe a cake or something else. Have a good night.